Okay, so these are all the things I needed to know for marketing strategy, kind of putting together a strategy. What percentage of my strategy should I focus on retaining guests versus enticing new business? I know you do a ton of teaching on enticing new people, but how should I split my efforts?
Yeah, and so I love that you bring that up because retention is really the name of the game. We can get people in there, but if they don't have a good experience, they don't come back. It's all for nothing, and you can't really build like a snowball of business with that. So part of the, if you want to talk about resources, a lot of the resources should just be in the experience that the guest has, because if they go in, they have a great time, you take care of them, they're very likely to come back in some form or another. Now, where we come back in is, or, where, I say we, but just marketing in general, is when you're trying to get them to come back in more frequently. So I always say, and I learned this from proprietors, but basically there's only 3 ways to grow your center. You can increase your average ticket, you increase your average frequency of like how often someone visits, or you increase the new customers. And so much we want to focus on like the new customers, but really your current customers are the best customers, and it's way easier to get them to come back in. So what we want to do then is just give them reasons to come back in. Like if you can just get someone, so most centers that I see, their average frequency is about 1.5 to 2 times a year, believe it or not. So that's 2 times every 3 years, or, twice a year is really all they're coming in. So imagine getting 25% of your customers to come in 1 extra time a year. That's a huge increase in business.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just finding ways to get them to come in. And when it comes to those, there's a lot of different targeting you can do, whether it's like, you can upload your customer list to Facebook, you can send out email blasts. I really like doing texting. It was working very well for us, just to text an offer and say, hey, do you and your family want to have fun tonight? Let us know, yes or no. And if they say yes, you can send them the details. If they say no, you say, no worries, hope to see you in again soon. But stuff like that is what gets them to come in over and over again.
Got it. And then also, so those are what are your top tips for retaining those guests? I heard you say text messaging, which I don't think very many people use in our industry a lot. So that's interesting. What else would you like if someone's like, if you had a list, a couple of things, choose from these things, you got to try to at least do one of them. What are those few things that you would suggest? Yeah.
So without a doubt, the first thing I always say is, make sure they have a good experience. I think, that goes without saying, is that is your marketing, and especially, and I talked to Beth about this when we had our interview, is that events like event sales is almost its own form of marketing, because when one person comes and they bring 10 of their friends, or the company comes and brings 30 of their employees, you just marketed to them, and it's the best type of marketing there is.
Yeah.
So if you can give them a good experience.
Obviously, since we focus on sales, it's in the way of birthday parties and group, like we have statistics that show that so many people, like 60 to 70% of people, are exposed either from an event they were invited to and didn't come to, but something to do with an event, whether it was with a school or whatever. And that's how they came to even know that you were in existence, because people don't look for things until they need them. And
Right.
So I have 2 kids. I assure you, before I had 2 kids, I was not looking for children's entertainment centers. Like
Right.
it was not on my radar. I didn't even know to think about them. So even if I knew they were in my neighborhood, I hadn't retained that information. But once I had kids and then I started getting invited to birthday parties, I was like, oh, I had no idea there was a petting zoo farm right over here, or a llama farm, because I was not looking for those things.
Right. Why would you? It's just not in your mind. And I mean, I'm sure providers hear all the time. It's like, oh, I've lived here for 10 years. I didn't even know you guys were here down the street.
I talked to a client that just this morning who said that they had run into someone who lived in the neighborhood literally across the street from their business, and was in a conversation, and that person had no idea they had a full restaurant attached to their business. Just had no idea it existed.
Yeah. Exactly. They don't know. I mean, these could even be customers. They don't know all the stuff that you have. Such a huge piece is, providing a good experience is always the start. Doing a lot of party and events business. You guys have different markers that I really like, is like your of your food and beverage business. It should be this percent is like events. And I think, that could be easily a key strategy that's going to outperform, maybe just sending out a direct mail kind of letter, But yeah, so then as far as what else I would do for retaining guests, Like I said, SMS is good. It's kind of like playing with fire, because if you do it wrong, it actually kind of backfires. So you got to be careful with it. Yeah, because text is very personal. Like you get texts from your friends and family. Email, you're used to getting it from businesses, but not text. It's almost like sacred. So when you do it, it has to feel like it's a person or like it's a friend. So we'll actually say, hey, this is, Candy from Trainertainment. Do you guys want to have some fun on Friday night? And then we wait for that opt-in. Like, we won't say anything about the promotion until they say, yes, I want to learn more. And that way you preserve that relationship.
Order your pizza tonight or whatever, you actually started out as a conversation versus just a blanket message that's being sent out there.
Exactly. They have to opt in and ask for more information. Otherwise, they let it go and it's okay. And the other thing is, you can't do it like every week. It has to be once a month at most, maybe once a quarter. They work very
totally
well.
Different from what we are told for how many times you should send emails versus how many times you should post on socials. That's totally a different rule of thumb there.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a different piece. That's what I say. There's a nuance of each channel that you got to be a little bit familiar with. You got to cater to.
Interesting. And I'm assuming that limited, like you almost reserve it for the most special things because it is such a personal form of communication with your guest.
Exactly.
So you don't want to use that.
Yeah. Think of it like your big weapon that you only get a couple of that you want to save. Hey, did you like this video? Great. We make 10 of them a week. Subscribe to learn more and keep learning about what's working in the industry. Talk to you then.